Ghanaians, particularly young women, to access dignified and fulfilling work by 2030. So, Young Africa Works here in Ghana aims to enable the growth of women owned enterprises through business development services across, as well as access to finance and access to markets. It's aimed at enabling young people to acquire skills that are needed by businesses in growing sectors of the economy and strengthen the quality of education to prepare students for the world of work. It's also aimed at scaling digital training and strengthening technology focused employment opportunities. Let's get to our conversation on the future of secondary education. Let me introduce our guests. Kofi Asari is no stranger to the show. He's the executive director of the Africa Education Watch. Kofi, it's a pleasure to see you. Good morning.
Thank you, Kojo. Good morning.
Joining us via Zoom is Anita Oforiwa Edu Boahene. She's a lecturer of education at the University of Education, Winneba. Anita, what a pleasure to have you on the show. Good morning.
Good morning, Kojo, and thanks for inviting me for this program.
Okay. Now, I want us to dig right in. I mean, this report is quite critical of Africa's secondary education system in its ability to equip students, especially girls, with employable skills. What is your assessment? Having read the report, what's your assessment of how we are doing in equipping secondary school graduates?
Let me indicate that the report underscores the need for African governments to prioritize secondary education within the context of Africa being the youthful population. Africa is the most youthful continent in the world. About 60% of the continent is aged below 24. And the UN and other agencies predict that by 2050, the continent's youthful population will double. Now, at present, the major issue for Africa is what to do with the teeming numbers of youth, being a youthful continent. The continent generates about 11 billion job seekers every year in terms of youth who graduate into or who transit into the labor market in search of jobs. But sadly, the continent is only able to create job opportunities for 3.7 out of this 11 million. That's about 30%. So it means that for the continent to utilize its youthful population as a resource to transform its fortunes, it must position secondary education at a place where it is capable of giving this youth the required skills and competences necessary for their participation in the economic transformation of the continent. Other than that, they'll become a national security threat.
Kofi, but why secondary education? I mean, we know that tertiary education is that which would normally, give you the passport to work, as we would call it. So why the focus on secondary education?
Well, if you look at the structure of African educational systems, averagely, less than 10% at the continental level of primary school entrants get to the tertiary level. In Ghana, for instance, which is quite higher than the continental average, about 18% of people who enter basic school are able to make it to the tertiary level. The point I want to make is that the majority of students enter the world of work at the secondary level because they are not able to transit to tertiary. Education is a pyramid. Not all the 800,000, for instance, who will enter school at KG are supposed to get to tertiary. Because as you know, there are various categories of work within the world of work. We have the upper class, we have the middle class, we have the lower middle class, and all that. And so for every category of work, there is a level that you must reach within the education system. I'm not saying that tertiary education is not important. The point I'm making is that majority of children who enroll in primary school end up leaving the education system at the post-secondary level. And so when you have such a situation, you must position secondary education at the point of providing, in addition to the foundational skills of literacy and numeracy, entrepreneurial skills, job readiness skills, digital skills, TVET, and all the skills that are labor market relevant, so that they don't leave secondary school without the basic skills they require to be active participants in the labor market, or to meet the labor market expectations at the point of entering the world of work. That is the focus of this particular research.
Okay, now the reality is that in the labor market, even for a job as a cleaner, you are likely to see one of the requirements being a first degree. So where are these teeming youth supposed to fit? In the current labor market, where do they go once you leave secondary school and you want to earn a living? Where are they going to do this?
It is, you see, you ask such questions because of the way we structured our educational system here. And this is a structural issue. If you compare ours to economies, for example, in Eastern Europe, in Western Europe, in Southeastern Asia and all that, you realize that, for example, in countries like Luxembourg and Germany, at the secondary level, about half of their students are TVET students. The reason why they are TVET students is that they are already preparing for the world of work. And I mentioned TVET as part of the critical labor market essential skills that we need to reform our secondary education sector to focus on. When you see where advanced countries preparing their students at the secondary level for the world of work, it tells you that they are not expecting everybody to go to university. You understand? Because the university has its place, and then also, if you are doing TVET, for instance, at the secondary level, it has its place. That's the point I want to make. And so, if we understand that education is a pyramid, that not all that enter from the base will get to the top, and the top by no means means that is going to be the basis for stratifying society. No, economically, no. You don't need to go to the university and do a PhD before you can become economically successful. In the same way, also, you can complete secondary school, gain the necessary TVET skills, enter into entrepreneurship, or become an employee within the skill sector, and become economically relevant to the country. So that's how we should see it. Now, if you identify a peculiar situation, especially in Africa, if you identify a peculiar situation, you have resources, but you lack technology, you lack leadership, you lack the right attitudes. If you identify a situation moving into the future, in anticipation that the continent's population will double by 2050, then you fashion strategies to ensure that in the next 25 years or so, you equip your youth, especially the challenging mass of the youth, those who are entering secondary school and not progressing, with the skills that will not make them school leavers or school dropouts, who are unemployable or who lack the skills to become participants in the entrepreneurial side of work, but then either have employable skills or are entrepreneurial, and then build systems to make them relevant as they seek to start up or gain employment, and then build on their skills thereafter.
Anita, I want to bring you in at this point because you work in an institution that receives the product of secondary school education. Now, in the state in which you receive them, what would they need in order to be ready for the workplace? Or are they those who qualify to go to university, are they ready for the workplace? Can they be employed?
Thank you very much, Kojo. Once again, I would like to thank you and your listeners for this opportunity given me, and also thank Mastercard Foundation for putting out this comprehensive report. Here at the university, we admit people based on their performance in WASI. And then we know what happens with WASI. It's not practical. They don't assess them practically. And so they come in with a little content knowledge, with little skills in addition. So for me, I think the secondary school, we need to work there and work on the curriculum that is over there and how we teach in the secondary schools. If we teach well in the secondary schools, by the time they exit from the secondary schools, they will be equipped with the skills that they need. Even if they don't get a chance to enter tertiary education, they have a little skill that they can use in the world of work. So I believe we need a paradigm shift in our secondary education in Africa and Ghana as a country. We need a shift in the way that we teach our curriculum. We need a shift in it. And then we need to re-examine the way that we assess our students. And so that's the view that I have for this.
Right. Now you are training people to work in the education sector. That will include teachers at secondary school level. So is it the teaching at secondary school that is lacking of the ingredients that will make these secondary school graduates employable? And what can an institution like yours impart so that qualified teachers will be able to produce better qualified secondary school graduates?
The answer is in twofold. Okay, so at the senior high school, I think there are lots of workshops that now teachers are attending on the new ways of teaching, especially involving learners in teaching and learning, which is a way of promoting them in acquiring some skills that they need. So you go to the senior high school, you do supervision. We go there to supervise our students who go on internship. And you realize that they are just there talking, and then the students will be sitting there listening to them without doing any activity in the classroom. And that's what we observe most of the times when we go to the senior high school to observe our students, that they do the talking more, and then the students are there doing nothing. How can they acquire a skill like communication skills if they don't talk in the classroom? How can they acquire a skill like team building if they are not involved in group activities? How can they acquire a skill like leadership skills if they are not involved in any leadership role in the school? And so what we see is that our teaching and learning is focused on cognitive knowledge at the expense of other skills that they need to develop. Back in the university, we are doing our best to train them to acquire the skills that they need, involve learners in teaching and learning and all those things. We teach them all those things. And even for their on-campus teaching practice and all those things, we teach them. But Lottie will say their students are apprentices in the classroom. So whatever the teacher does, when they go back to the classroom to go and teach, they do it as they were taught when they were in the secondary school. They've even forgotten about what you taught them in the university, that, or when you go back to the school, teach them, use learner-centered method to teach in the classroom. They've forgotten because now that they are teachers in the classroom, they are recalling how they were in the senior high school, how their teacher was teaching them. And so even though we are calling for a paradigm shift in the way we teach in the classroom, I think we can do it, but we have to do it gradually. We can't do a radical one to let teachers have a change in the teaching. So for instance, with a basic school where we've introduced a standard-based curriculum, all these things have been included. Core competences like critical thinking, innovation, creativity, problem solving, and all those things. We have introduced the basic school teachers to it. But go to the classroom and find out whether these things are going on. Teachers are crying for textbook. They want the students to read textbook and answer questions. That's what they want. But can't they bring in new and innovative ways of teaching, like researching, teaching students how to decipher facts and then from fiction when they go to the internet? So is this information credible and all those things? These are some of the skills we need to inculcate in our learners. But no, as I said, we are used to what our teachers used to, the way they used to teach us when we were students. And so changing our way of teaching becomes a little problematic. That's what I have to say.
Okay, let me bring in, Kofi at this point. And Kofi, Anita talks about, the fact that for them at the university level, they get these students at the university level, and so without, they just show them their WASI results. I know you've been talking a lot about skills development. Anita has touched on it briefly, but I want to understand, what's the challenge? First of all, are the secondary schools equipping, these students with enough skills? Anita says that's not what is happening. But what's the challenge? Why are we not able to do these?
Well, MasterCard Foundation in the study acknowledged that there's a challenge within our secondary education system. The challenge is that in the past and at present, curriculum and pedagogy hasn't focused on equipping the students with the necessary skills relevant for the world of work. The focus has been on giving them literacy, numeracy, problem-solving skills, foundational skills, as you may put it. And then it has focused more on proficiency, and cognitive ability. That is why our assessment, as Anita said, has focused on assessing students based on recall, based on cognitive development, instead of assessing their aptitude. So the way they teach is a mirror image of the way they assess. Because you are going to be asked questions, define this, what is this, define this. So they teach you so that you can define it as I could ask you. Now, if you read the reports, there is a direct correlation between the structure and the focus of your curriculum and how you aim to assess students in your curriculum. If you aim to assess students in a more practical portfolio manner, where you want to involve students more in activity-based learning, in portfolio learning and assessment, you want to be more interested in assessing the students by gauging their aptitudes rather than cognitive development, you will definitely teach differently. But if you know that this student I'm teaching will be assessed based on cognitive development,
so
you will teach them just that manner.
Yeah, in effect, you're saying we should change the way of assessment.
Exactly. So once you change that, once we agree that we're going to change the assessment system and make our assessment system more skills oriented, more about applied, and more practical, and more portfolio based, more aimed at assessing the innovativeness and the dynamism in the student than assessing the extent to which the students can reproduce what I taught them. If we change the means of assessment, then it will have an effect in the classroom. But for now, the teacher in the classroom will be assessed based on the performance of the student.
Okay.
How? Through WASI. How WASI assess them. So that is the chicken and egg situation. But I'm aware that there are ongoing efforts to review the secondary education curriculum. I am aware that there's a team comprising industry and then academia. I'm told that Shasi is playing a key role in that process. We will be expecting that, similar to what we saw in the basic education curriculum, which reinforced the need for proficiency skills, creativity, writing, the 4 R's, reading, writing, creativity. We would like to see much more emphasis on market-led skills being infused into our secondary education curriculum. So
does the building of STEM secondary schools help?
Yes, building STEM secondary school helps because one of the 7 market-led skills MasterCard Foundation observes, and indeed I attest to, that is a key demand in the labor market for which the supply is low, is the lack of STEM skills. STEM skills, 21st century skills, TVET skills, they are all key skills that employers are looking for and they are not getting. And so if we want to make our secondary education graduates marketable, and then we need to enhance the STEM to humanities ratio in our educational system. The government, through the Education Strategic Plan, has planned to increase the STEM to TVET ratio from about 15 to 60-40. So building these centers is one way of providing facilities to upgrade the capacity of students, in STEM, enhance their participation, enhance STEM proficiency. However, the focus must not be on the few who will be able to access the centers, about 1% of the population, but rather the focus must be on how to ensure that STEM facilities are available to the child in Bimbila, the child in Anumba, the child in every part of the country. In every junior high school, we must have a STEM facility there, or if you like, a STEM center there, so that we can comprehensively achieve the 60% STEM to humanities ratio. That is how I see. So I see the STEM center to rather be a complement to a holistic or a mainstreamed approach to STEM education by equipping all our junior high schools with STEM facilities and resources.
Okay, let's look at equity and access. Okay, and here I want us to look at some of the discrimination issues we face in secondary education and how we can ensure equity and increased inclusion, particularly for girls as outlined in the report. And I want you to address this for us, Anita.
I didn't get the question well.
So I'm asking you to tell us some of the discrimination issues we face in secondary education and how we can ensure equity and increased inclusion, particularly for girls, as outlined in the report.
Okay, so I think one basic thing has to do with finance, especially those in disadvantaged communities. They don't have access to finance, and so getting money to pay fees. And even if there's a fee-free education, some other hidden costs in terms of transportation, buying uniform, and others also serve as barriers in equity in education. In terms of girls, I think some other cultural practices or societal norms also take them away from the education. For instance, you go to places where they think that education may not be important, and so as a girl, you need to get married and then all those things. So it takes you away from the classroom. You may not be involved in the educational system. I happened to, at a point in time, teach in one secondary school, and then, so the ladies were not coming to school. I tried to find out from them, why are you not coming to school? Oh, Madam, I'm here because when you get to the secondary school and get a certificate, it will increase your bride price. That's why I'm here. And so she is there just for the education so that her bride price will increase and not to gain knowledge or anything to prosper in the world of work. So in terms of equity, what we can do is to whip up the campaign on girl-child education. I think in the late 1990s or 2000s, there was an education campaign on girl-child education, which for now, I believe there's a lot of great outcome which has come out of it, because now a lot of females are being enrolled into education, and then they are making it. They are making it now. So we need to whip up education on girl-child education in that direction.
Great. Kofi, what about the displaced youth and those with disabilities?
Yeah, we recognize that within our population, about 10% have various forms of disabilities. Various governments in Africa are working to mainstream the needs of PWDs, learners with special disabilities within the education system. The approach has been to mainstream, than to segregate or provide preferential services too. The challenge we face is how to diagnose disabilities at the right time. We don't have enough assessment centers to be able to determine or detect disabilities, either your medical ones or academic disability. I'm talking about children with dysgraphia, dyslexia. Reading disabilities, writing disabilities, and then also those with physical disabilities, mental disabilities, etc. We need assessment centers enough so that as early as possible we're able to detect if a student, for example, has a hearing disability, and then we know how to fix it before they progress. Apart from that, we also need to sufficiently mainstream access issues. We are still building schools, story buildings without elevators. We are building our usual single stories. Single stories without even ramped access. We've seen a lot of schools being built with ramped access too. It depends on who is building the school. We have always indicated that it is important for governments to harmonize their infrastructural plans, irrespective of who builds a school. There must be a common plan to be adopted, and that plan must, among others, be disability friendly. So that in the first place, you don't build a school that is not disability friendly just because it wasn't built by government. If it's a CSO, if it's a corporate agency, it's whoever builds it must have to build it in line with what has been sanctioned by government. And so that is one of the ways we can pursue ensuring that our facilities are disability friendly.
Okay. Now, you know that COVID-19 presented some challenges to education. The fact that, for almost 10 months, students were out of school, and one of the challenges was that we saw a higher case of teenage pregnancy and girls dropping out of school because they were pregnant. Anita, let me start off with you on this. What's the future for these pregnant mothers and girls, and how can Ghana as a country ensure that interventions for them are sustainable?
Okay, so one thing I would say is that they need the support from the family. Family in the sense that the parents need to, if they have the capacity, take their kids so that they can go back to school. Provided they are not able to go back to school and they still have the edge to study, I think governments can come up with a blended form of learning where students can have access to learning materials online so they can read whilst they are at home, and then sometimes go to the classroom to join their colleagues to learn, and when it's time for them to write examination, they will write. Another thing we can do is to support them in terms of funding. Most of these kids got impregnated probably because of not having money to feed themselves during the COVID era and all those things. So we need to support them with the funding to help them take care of their kids and also take care of themselves whilst they go to school. When they have money and they have food and they're able to survive, I think they can go back and cope well in their studies.
What about you, Kofi?
Yeah. The evidence gathered by MasterCard Foundation from other African countries, and I'm sure it includes Ghana, suggests that cash grants, among others, works in terms of supporting vulnerable populations to enroll, re-enroll, or complete their secondary education. Within the context of Ghana, we have a country where 110,000 on average teenage pregnancies occur. Between 2016 and now, we've had about 540,000 teenage pregnancies. And the bulk of the teenage pregnancy situation exists at the junior high school level, and then also some at the secondary school level. If we want to ensure that there's equitable access and also equitable completion of secondary education by all, especially girls, we can consider implementing cash grants to economically vulnerable girls who aim to re-enter school at the secondary level to complete, because obviously there is always an economic barrier to re-enrollment, especially for girls who became pregnant due to economic reasons. We are currently working on a project with support from Star Ghana. We are working on the Ministry of Gender and other stakeholders to see how we can, for example, in Ghana, create a component under the LEAP program to take care of vulnerable pregnant girls seeking to re-enter school and give them cash grants because they are economically vulnerable. So when I saw in this MasterCard research that yes, it is proven that cash grants do work when they are targeted at vulnerable girls who need very little to return to school, so that they will not go and work in the day because they know they will get about 5 cedis or 2 cedis a day to take care of their babies, we were happy. And I think that there is a modicum of evidence, especially in Southern Africa, that providing such support to girls once they are ready to return to school, once they have returned to school, and once there's a targeted mechanism for targeting who is an economically vulnerable teenage mother who wants to return to school. We should make some progress in ensuring that girls are not excluded from secondary education on the basis of economics.
If you just joined us, we're having a conversation. It's part of the Future of Work series, which is a 5-part monthly conversation. This is all because of a report that was funded by the MasterCard Foundation. The report is called Secondary Education in Africa, Preparing Youth for the Future of Work. And today we're focusing on equitable access for everyone. Our guests in this conversation are Kofi Asare, the Executive Director of the Africa Education Watch, and Anita Oforiwa Edubuahine, who is a lecturer of education at the University of Education, Winneba. Now, this MasterCard Foundation funded report had some recommendations. I want to start with you, Anita. Which of the recommendations of this report stood out for you?
I think the second and third one stood out for me, and I think issues which have to do with TVET and STEM also had was something that I picked. The first one has to do with skill acquisition. I think from the scratch where we started our discussion, our emphasis has been on acquisition of skills for the labor market. we need to work a lot in strengthening the foundational skills of our learners and also developing 21st century skills among our learners. The other thing has to do with improving the digital skills of our learners. That which is very, very important, how to use digital tools and even how to source for information, which is very, very important. Now people go online, they chance on any document and they see it as fact. But some of them may cook that information. And so we need to train our learners on how to source information online and all those things. And then one other recommendation that was made was in terms of STEM knowledge, getting to have knowledge about science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, which I know for Ghana, we've been working on it since class 1. You'll be learning something about mathematics, you learn science, you learn some ICT, which have to do with technology, and then things about engineering, which have been incorporated into the science curriculum. And then TVET and vocational skills. TVET and vocational skills, I think we need to place a lot of emphasis on that. The emphasis should be more on it being a little practical. Let's say more practical. We need to let it be practical so that our students can live out with their skills with their hands and not just gain knowledge about it and may not be able to know how to use tools and other materials when they leave school. And then one other recommendation has to do with boosting the entrepreneurial and work readiness skills of our learners. If we are able to inculcate among our learners the skill of being problem solvers, then we are able to create entrepreneurs out of them, involving our learners in extracurricular activities like debate. If you do a debate, you are churning out a lawyer from it. You are doing drama. We have our actors who are coming out. And then even in sports, we can get our athletes, our footballers, and all those things. So those were some of the recommendations made. In addition to that, they made recommendation about getting relevant and quality teachers. And for now, we know teachers have sponsored a lot of students in the colleges of education, especially the teacher educators in the colleges of education, and now they've been engaged in a lot of professional development programs, and so they are equipping their students with the skill of teaching. But we need to keep our attention there. How are they being trained? Is the training going on well? Because these students are going to come out from the colleges of education, go into the classroom, and implement whatever investment that have been made from teachers' end. Are they going to do what is expected of them, or they are just going there and then they will not engage their learners in the classroom and all those things? So these are some of the recommendations. So we also need to create a flexible pathway for those who involve themselves in TVET education and those involved in general secondary education. That's the humanities, when we talk about general arts and then all those things. We need to have a flexible pathway where we can integrate their teaching and learning in that direction.
Okay. Kofi.
I think the most let me put it like the most cross-cutting recommendation, and for that matter most important, is the recommendation on cost-effective financing mechanisms being adopted by governments to fund this agenda. We have a continent where very few countries have, if you like, free senior high school programs. In West Africa, apart from Ghana and Sierra Leone, most of the countries are still running fee-based secondary education programs. In Southern Africa, I know that there are a couple of countries in South Africa that have been running free secondary education for about 2 decades now. The challenge is that for us to provide about 10 million youth graduating out of secondary school every year with the skills that we are discussing, it requires financing. It doesn't just require financing, but the report estimates that about 4.5% of GDPs will have to be committed to the secondary education agenda. How do you do this without being efficient in financing? So government will need to develop secondary education models that are not just expansive in respect of ensuring equitable access, but are also financially efficient and sustainable. I juxtapose that together, and if you look at our system, you find that our per capita secondary education expenditure as at 2020 was 3,800 cedis per student per year. It translates to about $3 a day. The global average for secondary education is about $1.2, $1.3 a day, and we are already at $3 a day. And it is not surprising that we are always raising issues about financial sustainability of the free senior high school. So if you compare to other countries like in South Africa and other countries, secondary education is much more tilted towards day, with boarding being an exception. So it's much cheaper and cost effective, just like it is done in Europe and in America. So the recommendation that government should deploy cost effective solutions or cost effective measures to enhancing access and participation, and also enhancing the quality of secondary education, taking into cognizance these 7 key market-led skills areas is very, very critical for Africa if we are able to meet the targets within the Africa Union's Agenda 2065. Yeah. So it's very, very important. Cost effectiveness and deploying cost-efficient financing mechanism for secondary education is critical to sustaining our approach towards this target.
Right. Of course, we're talking about access to secondary education. This is all coming out of a report from the MasterCard Foundation. Now, earlier we're talking about biases, especially against girls.
Yeah.
Now, I'm wondering about whether or not teacher-student communication also can be a source of gender bias and stereotypes. How about textbooks and materials? Are we seeing some sort of gender bias in these as well?
Yeah. Education literature establishes that one of the main forms of gender biases in the school environment, apart from the physical school environment, is, among others, in our textbooks. How we portray how we portray girls in our textbooks. So if it's time to go and carry water, the example is a girl carrying water on their head. It's time to be a pilot in the same textbook, and it's a guy who's doing it. So you groom the children from the foundational level, from the primary level, to understand in a way that this is an example of a job for girls and then an example for a job for boys. It sticks into their orientation about gender and then the rules ascribed to girls and boys as they grow. So if you are a girl and you are not given the right necessary support at home to understand that, even though your textbook is saying that a doctor is normally a man or a pilot is normally a man, they are actually accomplished women who have also done same. You will not get there. So it is true, but I think those are issues that we have departed from significantly, to a higher extent, especially within our textbooks. But in communication in school, yes, classroom factors. How many times have you heard in class that a boy was raped? You will hear that. Or a boy was sexually assaulted by a teacher. You will hear that. But you will occasionally hear about teachers sexually assaulting girls. You understand? And when the girls get pregnant, they get pregnant most times in and around the school environment. Okay? And then they would rather be excluded from education. But the boys sometimes who may have procured or participated directly in that particular enterprise will go to school, and then the girls will fall out. So issues in the classroom and around the school environment affect how school-friendly or the extent to which girls are able to remain in school, enroll in school, and complete their education. And that's why we need to ensure that we have girl-friendly school environment, including even having single-sex toilet and urinal facilities in our schools, so that the school environment is safe for all. Girls are confident to be in school, they're happy to be in school, and they're happy not to drop out or stay at home.
All right. So, obviously, if I may ask the same question to you, Anita, especially when it comes to our materials, our reading materials, and the communication that we get from teachers, what could we do to improve the sort of gender balance in these communications?
Okay, so I think Kofi earlier mentioned how gender is represented in most of our textbooks. So, for instance, you see a picture of a police person and then it's a man. And then when it comes to cooking and all those things, they are limited to women. I think from our test books, we can let those who write our textbook change the way that they represent information to our learners, because that is where they are trying to inculcate into our learners the gender roles. And so we have to change the way we write our textbook so that the learners will get to appreciate that what a man can do, a woman can also do. And so we are removing aspects of stereotyping from our books. So what a man can do, a woman can do. And so you bring a picture of a man alongside a picture of a woman, which will represent that we have a woman who is a judge also. It's not only men who are judges. And so when we present it in such a way that the learners in the classroom will appreciate that there is no straight-jacket profession or so which is assigned to a particular group of people, then they get to appreciate what they have to do. And I think Kofi also mentioned that we have to set up a girl-friendly school environment in terms of helping our girls, grooming our girls very well. I would propose that, for instance, we should have girls' club in most of our schools, where we have ladies, women who have made it in the world of work, like the Joy Sayis, the Doreen Andos, and others, coming to them to tell them their story, which will lift them up and then let them get involved in the drive to let women get educated. And there's another way that I think we can help promote girl-child education and then leadership is in the leadership skills, that in vying for positions in our secondary schools, we should encourage more women to pick up higher leadership roles. Often you see that women contest for the role as secretaries, treasurer, and all those things. They are afraid to pick up leadership positions like the president and all those things. So when we do those things and then we help them to embrace the issue about them taking up roles that men can do, I think that one will help ladies in their schools.
Interesting. All right. There was also the thorny issue when it came to equity and access of encouraging teachers to adopt participatory approaches in the teaching and learning process, to make the classroom environment gender inclusive. What are your thoughts?
That is one of the major challenges we face as a continent. If you look at the direction of curriculum reviews across the continent, yes, countries are reviewing their basic and lower secondary, junior high school and higher secondary curriculum to reflect, the exigencies of the 21st century and make sure that the content is relevant to grooming youthful population, for the 21st century. But the challenge is that we are having participatory pedagogy and participatory curriculum being developed, which is prescribing the use of learner-based, activity-based, and at a level play pedagogy at the KD level and all that. But the numbers in the classroom, the people-teacher ratio, the class people-teacher ratio, is not allowing teachers to use these participatory approaches in teaching. Now, for you to optimize, for you to get the results that the new curriculum seeks to bring, you must adapt the right pedagogy. And if you come to Ghana, we just finished reviewing the Education Sector Medium-Term Development Plan with CDD, 2018 to 2021. And averagely, for most of the schools that we reviewed, the class size is 80. Some are higher, averagely 80 in urban Ghana, 80. If you have a class of 80, how do you facilitate? Because a participatory teaching and learning approach means you, the teacher, are how do you facilitate a discussion among the class of 80 when the school is already full? If you go to EB Presby, the school is full. The gap between the teacher's desk and the first desk is just about 1 foot. And there are 80 at minimum in the class. So our class sizes And at the secondary level too, we are still below the class size of a secondary school. I think it's about 35, but we are still around 45 to 10. But there are many schools that are doing 60, 70. So our class sizes pose a threat in the deployment, in the use of participatory pedagogies, which is key to achieve the objective and the benefit of the new curriculum we are seeing. So government will have to invest more infrastructure, because if you don't create more classrooms, you definitely cannot reduce the class size. You can have 2 teachers. There are some schools that have 2 teachers in a class. Okay, if you go to Adenta, there are schools that have 2 teachers in a class. But the fact is that yes, there are 80 in a class. If you go to Ashi MS, for example, in Adenta, there are 80 in a class. Okay, there are 2 teachers, but the 2 cannot teach. One will go and mark homework. One will teach. So you will still handle 80.
Yeah.
So that is a challenge. We need to expand for infrastructure and facilities as we expand, so that we can ensure that the quality of raw materials we ship or we produce from the basic sector to the secondary education sector are those that secondary school teachers can also admit and then groom for the world of work or transit to tertiary.
Okay, if you just joined us, we're having a conversation about secondary education. Is it preparing its graduates for the job market? Bearing in mind that in Ghana, 81% of them are not going to go any further than secondary school. Anito Furuwa Dubuahin is a lecturer at University of Education, Winneba. She's speaking to us alongside Kofi Asare, Executive Director of Africa Education Watch. And it's an enlightening conversation. We're going to come back to it. We're going to look at some of the recommendations of this MasterCard Foundation sponsored report that has sparked this conversation. Stay with us. When we come, we'll get into that. But in the meantime, I want to ask you something. Do you have a child in secondary school? What kind of jobs do you think your child will be qualified for by the end of secondary school? Or perhaps, let me ask you, by the time you came out of secondary school, what kind of jobs were you qualified for? Let's talk about it when we return. Use the hashtag JoySMS to tweet at us on this topic, and I will share your tweets with the world. More after these.
Everyone is proud of the doctor I've become. I'm grateful to a lot of people, but especially for basketball and the grit I built as I learned the sport. The rejections taught me to keep fighting. The long hours taught me discipline. Knockdowns taught me to bounce back. And those unexpected victories taught me never to give up.
Nourish and energize your kids with Milo to help them succeed in sports. Because the grits they learn in sports, they keep for life. Milo, energy to go further. Milo.
This advert is FDA approved.
What would you do if you have the choice to do anything in life? Build your dream house, take very good care of your family, and plan for a comfortable retirement. Plan a befitting funeral for your loved ones when they depart. How would you live if you knew there was a friend waiting to support you on all of your life's choices?
You have such a friend in Glycolife Insurance. Glycolife has all the plans to meet your life's needs. Your child's education, your life savings, your mortgage, funerals, redundancy, and your retirement, and takes the burden off your shoulders. So go ahead and live life to the fullest today with Glycolife Insurance plans. And remember that all our policies are hedged against inflation. Talk to Glycolife on 0302 218 500 or 246 142. Also visit our website at www.glycolife.com or any of our branches nationwide for more information.
Glycolife, we cushion you for life.
Glyco, we cushion you for life.
Me, I won't go central. I won't go leg. I won't go Methodist.
I won't go tag.
Me, I want the house. But my puppy say
Coffee in your cup. Enjoy on the set. The Super Morning Show is always the best bet on Joy 99.7 FM.
Oh, wow. Me, I get leg. They give me dontology. I badger them things. For this economy, hey, Charlie, how? I go take the house.
Oh, me, I get tech, and that be where I pick. Them give me architecture, but me, I know the base, cause I dey go steady chicks.
Yeah, secondary education is our focus. Welcome back. It's the Super Morning Show on Joy, and we're asking you to tell us on social media, by the time you finished secondary school, What kind of jobs were you qualified to do? We will certainly want to increase the employability of our secondary school graduates, bearing in mind the findings of a MasterCard Foundation funded report. And it appears that across West Africa, 91% of those who go to secondary school will not study beyond secondary school. So, what will they do? What jobs can they do? What are they trained to do? Anita Oforua Edubuahin is a lecturer at the University of Education, Winneba. Kofi Asare is the executive director of Africa Education Watch. They're helping us navigate these thorny matters. We'll be hearing more from them in a moment. But your text messages need to come in, keep coming in, and tell us the answer to that question we were posing. Text messages on the Super Morning Show are brought to you by Glycocritical Illness Plan, GSIP. It's in your best interest to survive.
And at Glycolife, we believe this is the time to protect your future with our life insurance policies. Our products are designed to offer you peace of mind, especially in this COVID-19 era. So to our policyholders, your claims are very important to us, and we advise you to visit our offices or the Glycolife website, glycolife.com, to lodge your claims for prompt services. We're surviving COVID-19 together, so please pay your premiums via your chosen mode of payment or by Momo 0591 441473 or by e-premium for micro-insurance to safeguard your policies. Our call center team is ready to support you, so call us on 0202 222113 for assistance or contact us via digital channels. We care for your safety, so all our offices are implementing the Ghana Health Services recommended COVID-19 protocols. Please practice social distancing, keep safe, and trust Glycolife to cushion you for life.
For life is for life. All right, now Adansi Travels, they won CIMG Hospitality Company of the Year, by the way, and they're bringing you the Royal Escape to the Garden City from March 5th until March 7th, 2022, this weekend. Allow Adansi to indulge you in some well-deserved royal treats as they visit some exciting attractions in Kumasi. You will explore the amazing Bunso Eco Park on your way to the Garden City, where you will have great adventures like canopy walk, zip line, and so much more. With a cool 1,590 Ghana cedis per person and 3,150 Ghana cedis per couple, you get so much for that money. 2 nights accommodation at Micklin Hotel Kumasi, daily breakfast, lunch and dinner, transportation in an air-conditioned bus, tours at Bunso Eco Park, Menchia Palace, Prempeh II Museum, and so many more historic sites, as well as cultural and nightlife in Kumasi with Showbiz A to Z crew. Please call or send a WhatsApp to 024 7067 375, or you can try 059 5500 817 to book your spot now.
And here are some COVID-19 prevention tips. Wash your hands frequently and carefully with soap and running water. Rewash your hands several times a day, especially after touching anything, including your phone or laptop. Use hand sanitizers when you cannot wash your hands properly. Wash fresh groceries, clean and disinfect surfaces such as countertops, door handles, furniture, toys, laptops, and mobile phones with alcohol-based disinfectants.
All right then. So let's wrap this up. Let's wrap up this conversation. Now, we've already talked a little bit about the recommendations of this report. I want to start with you, Anita. What do you think needs to be done so that these recommendations that you've highlighted are actually implemented?
Thank you very much. I think it will start from government, and then we need to let our governments know that this is what the youth want, and so they need to embrace it and put in a lot of effort in the sense of providing the resources that is needed to prepare our youth for the world of work, even if they are not able to make it to the tertiary education. And they need to assist our teachers with the necessary resources. They need to motivate them in order to help the learners in the classroom also. Government also need to bridge the gap between female and male students in the classroom. We have to promote female education. As Kwejagri said, that if you educate a man, you educate an individual, but if you educate a woman, you educate a home or a nation. So we have to help our ladies in the classroom get them to know why they need to go to school and also take part in every leadership roles that they are being put in.
Kofi, what about you? What must be done to ensure that these recommendations are implemented and sustained?
I think that to reach our goal, we need to pay much more priority to TVET. If you look at the countries that are doing well in respect of creating a much more employable and entrepreneurial secondary education population or graduates, averagely their TVET to secondary ratio is about 40%. We are currently in Ghana, we are below 6%. And so if we want to ensure that our secondary school leavers have skills to be relevant to the labor market, we need to work at increasing the number of children who are pursuing TVET and skills-related programs at the secondary level. I am aware that the number of TVET institutions under the Free Senior High School has increased from about 45 or so to about 139. We are hoping that with the inclusion of other TVET institutions like MVTIs now on the secondary education, free secondary education program, a lot more students will opt for more TVET programs.
Okay.
It is when a lot more students are participating in the skills-oriented, programs that you are sure that after secondary school, should they not be able to proceed to tertiary, they will find work to do and become useful participants in the economic process.
Now, these recommendations that we talk about, finally, Kofi, to you, what are your expectations for secondary education in Ghana and Africa if these recommendations are implemented?
It is my expectation that, and synonymous with what Mastercard Foundation envisions, that if countries take give political priority to secondary education issues, change their curriculum and make it more market-led, and then do the reforms that have been recommended, and back it with adequate funding, Africa should be positioned to harness its resources, build a more innovative, a more work-ready, a more, digitally oriented youth that have skills to propel the African economy into the next world. Africa would then be ready, to face the world as our population gets ready to double in the next 25 years. And Africa would then be building the critical building blocks for ensuring that the youthful population, which should be a blessing, does not become a national security threat.
Right. Thank you very much, Kofi Asare, who is Executive Director of the Africa Education Watch. And a big thank you to you, Anita Ofuriwa Edibuahin, who is lecturer at the University of Education in Winneba, for joining us this morning for all this important conversation. We're very grateful to you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Great. All right. Well, a few of your tweets have been coming through. We were asking, what were you qualified to do by the time you completed secondary school? We'll be opening the phone lines in a bit, but some interesting tweets coming through. Just before Winston reads those, let me just open the lines. 0302 216 541 055 1111 997. Only 16% of those who complete secondary school will continue their education to tertiary level. Only 16%. That means, only 18%. 18%. That means 82% of those who go to secondary school will not further their education. What are they qualified to do on the job market? What does the job market even expect of a secondary school graduate? That's the other part of the conversation. We want to know what your thoughts are on that.
So if you look at it, 82% of those who start schools from primary.
Yeah.
Because some would drop at the JSS level, others actually drop even at the secondary school level. So after primary school, some don't go to school again. After junior high school, some do not go, and then some do not continue after secondary school. So the 82% refers to the totality of those who enroll in our schools. But okay, before we get into the messages.
Yeah, let's take some calls first. Derek is in Labadi. Hi, Derek. Good morning.
Hello, my brother. Good morning.
Good morning to you, my brother.
Thank you so very much for this program. The issue is a bit more dicey. So the truth is, I'm a school dropout myself. What's more unfortunate, I made it through the hard way. And then suddenly, my daughter is now, I don't think, half under a year. And then I'm a bit more touched because looking at what is pertaining now, I'm even afraid because in my case, it was a sad task. If I weren't so strong enough, I wouldn't have made it. So what is the interim measures that can take care of those that are in school now before the implementation of all these laudable proposals that you have put across?
I'm curious though, Derek. When you completed secondary school, what did you do? Did you enter the job market? What job did you do?
Well, my problem is I dropped out at year.
At what? Sorry.
I mean, I dropped out at the first year, at the SS level.
Okay.
So I had to work, travel to Nigeria, was repatriated, came back in 1983, went back to school, and then I did it through the Workers' College, now Accra City Campus.
Right.
Now, after that, I trained to be a journalist, and I work under prominent personalities in Ghana. My name is a bit more known, so if you call the prominent ones today, they all know me, like Kodekuchi, Bakun, Kababia Mihies, Peter Jadis, mention them, the making of the memory and all that. I've worked under all, even Tommy Thompson, them prepress. But my problem here is the sort of the tedious task that lies ahead of those that are not going to make it to the job market. What we do. And then for now, you know, it used to be 5 years. Now it's 3 years. And the 3 years, the sort of the stuff they are making up with. Because if my memory serves me well, with all the statistics we put across, and then what pertained last year, I think about 70 or 80% of those that wrote the WASI couldn't make it to the university level. Even if they all made it to the university level, like the statistics shows now, it's about 91% couldn't make it to the tertiary. So are we now thinking about maybe TVET and then vocational skills and all that, so that at least if you're unable to make it to the tertiary level, you'll be able to at least come up with some sort of skills that can carry on. That's my fear here.
I understand. Thank you, Derek. Thanks for sharing. Let's go to Tema. Hi, Daniel. Good morning.
Hello, good morning. I hope you're doing well.
We're very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. This is a friend, Ganaba.
Oh, okay.
You know what? I left science school somewhere in 1995. And in fact, I was born and bred in Tema. Came back to Tema. And you realize that around that time, the only job that you could get is application for a security guard.
I see.
You understand? But one thing that came to my mind, in the pyramid, down, there were a lot. But at a point, I realized that it is left for you to decide whether you are going to climb or you remain at where you are. Because at down, there are a lot of people. You understand? I have always of the view that, look, if I don't get somebody to take me to the tertiary education, the scanty job that you are doing at a point in time, can't you use that one to push yourself in the ladder? You understand?
Yeah.
Because now, situations are such that even you can go on weekend school. But, I mean, some people nowadays, they think after secondary education, when even he has not gotten the grades to get admission to the university, that's all, which is, I think, it's a fallacy. Yeah, a determination. If you want to get to the top of the pyramid, you get there. Although over there, the people are few, down there are many. So you have to decide where you want to be. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Benjamin is... Oh, it's Benjamin from Adenta. Hi, Benjamin.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning, my brother.
Yes, I think that we actually don't touch the foundation when we are preferring solutions. I have taught before. It is all about results at the end of the day. WAEC sets an exam. You, the teacher, you are expected to let the kids produce 1 or A1. So what are you expected to do? You simply will let them do the recall thing where they are going to memorize everything and go and produce. At the end of the day, they score the 1. You, the teacher, you are promoted, and then you go your way. because that is what happens. So if we don't tackle the examination bit, and then we want the teachers to now go and teach things that we call it non-sila, even the kids will laugh at you. So I think that let's start the base than always laying the blame at somebody's doorstep. Teachers are very qualified. I can tell you, we know what we do. When I was teaching, we know our game. So to say that the teachers are not doing what they're supposed to do, for me, I totally disagree. Because if you look at it, most of the politicians don't have their kids here schooling in Ghana. Even if they have, they are in very, very renowned international schools. Therefore, they don't care what goes on in our basic schools or even the universities. Lecturers went on strike over 6 weeks now, and now they are back. And they can call a strike at any time. Nobody's even solving their solutions. You have people who just come from somewhere or from America, they come and tell you, this is my pedigree. And, when you lie, the job you are given to do will expose you big time. So please, let us focus on improving our education. And I applaud you for the program you are doing, but let's touch the base. Thank you.
Thank you, Benjamin. Sandra is in Tema. Hi, Sandra. Good morning.
Hi, Kojo. Good morning. How are you?
I'm very well. Thanks for calling us, Sandra.
In fact, I really don't know which work you can use your SS certificate to do in Ghana currently. Maybe I can't be corrected anyway. And then again, in our secondary schools now, it's like, okay, 2 and 4, and then you pass, you move on. Yeah. I don't really know the skills they are impacting in us. I am saying this because even with your certificate, if you don't have anybody to help you currently, you will just be in, and it will look as if you are aimless. You don't know what really you want or what you are up to. I don't know. Maybe I need to be educated in this country now with SSE. Somebody who has worked for so long with all the experience, you work, and then somebody just gets up and say you didn't pass or you didn't get credit in SSE, English or Maths, and on that basis your appointment has been terminated. And yet maybe coming up, some people are slow beginners or slow learners. So as the time goes on and they are getting mature, they are like their brains begin to open, and they kind of put themselves together to up their game. You manage to go through the system, do your degree, and then do your master's with all your experience at work for over 5 years, and then somebody just gets up and say you didn't get credit in English and Maths. Somebody are going to do 2 and 4 and pass. Maybe you have the capacity to do 2 and 4 and pass, but you struggle your way through. I mean, maybe, I don't know. Now, the education now, I don't really know. It's been like this for so long. And it's looking like there is nothing really skillful with what we are doing, teaching our children. And for you just go through the system. If you are lucky enough and you finish and you get somebody to help you, hallelujah. If not, you continue to struggle. You struggle from birth till you die. This is what is happening now anyway. This is what is happening now. I don't know what our leaders are doing for us. Look at.
Thank you, Sandra. Thank you very much for sharing. Agbesi is in Ashaman. Hi, Agbesi. Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, for me, I think our leaders are not being fair to us. It should be someone raised a concern about technical school. It should be technical, and it should be pure with practicals. Most of the technical schools today don't have enough materials for their practicals. I had the privilege to attend the technical school, which is Tema Technical Institute. I did building and construction, and after school, I didn't have the money to continue. So I went around doing jobs, masonry jobs, and other construction jobs. Today I have enough to further, and I'm in ATU now. So I would suggest that the leaders should come down to our aid, especially the technical schools, give us good practical materials, so that if even any of us complete or any of our little ones complete technical school and is not able to further, at least he or she has something doing. So please, this is a nice program, and I'll through your medium, through your stations, like you to talk to our leaders so that they build more technical institutes, because compare technical institutes to secondary schools, they are more. Secondary schools are more than technical schools, and yet after secondary schools, most of the students become mobile money vendors, Okada boys, and at the end, they go into robbery because there is nothing to work with. I hope I'm making a point.
Yeah,
there is nothing to work with. So please, if the technical schools will be more with intensive practical, I think it will help us, because see, most of these developing countries, China, India, Germany, they all rely on technical institutions. But here lies the case in Ghana. Here, our technical institutions are not taken seriously. So please, thank you very much, and you should do something about this for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Agbesi. Thank you so much to all of you who called. Derek, Daniel, Benjamin, Sandra, Agbesi. God bless you all. It's a Super Morning Show. Stay with us.
Mr. Bossman, with all these computers, servers, and electronic equipment, I know they see one cable for the floor cry.
Charlie, you be right too. We they use raised access floors from interface, so all the cables they hide under the raised access floor. So
this be the solution to the plenty cables where they my computer room for office. Accountant, call interface now.
If you're involved in new property development, renovation, or decoration, the right place for you is Interface Limited. Call us on 0274-999999 or visit our website at
www.interfacelimited.net. Facebook, Interface Limited GH. Instagram, interface.limited.
You want to fill your home with good electronic and home appliances? There is good news. EGL Bazaar.
Stop. Oh, why? I'm a driver, and they use time. I just want to know, these expensive fridges that you've been driving up and down to the warehouse, when can we also buy some? You know we don't have that kind of money. Massa, EGL, the things they sell, it be people from Transaco, East Legon, and serious people waiting to buy you. But there is a chance for you.
Oh, more filler. I want more filler.
From the 3rd to the 6th of March, EGL will be on the Spinters Road. You know the Coca-Cola roundabout?
Yeah, Coca-Cola.
Yes, them go there.
But it's not going to be the same prices.
Don't you know what is Bazaar? It is up to 80% discount.
Wow.
Yes, from fridges, microwaves, television, blenders, cookers, anything. But I beg, only from the 3rd to the 6th March. After that, don't come be stopping me on my road like that. Bye-bye, I dey go.
EGL, we dey go.
Coffee in your cup and Joy on the set. The Super Morning Show is always the best.